Most people think good people get treated badly because the world is unfair. That's comforting to believe. It means none of it is your fault. But the truth is harder. Good people get treated badly because they allow it. I know how that sounds. It sounds cruel. It sounds like blaming the victim. But listen carefully. I'm not saying you deserve bad treatment. I'm saying bad treatment survives only where it's tolerated. There are behaviors that slowly poison your life. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. So quietly that you start calling them normal. They come from partners, from friends, from family, from coworkers. And because you're kind, because you don't want conflict, because you want to believe the best in people, you accept them. Every day. I did too. For a long time, someone I cared deeply about treated me like I was disposable. They lied when it was convenient. They ignored me when it mattered. They spoke to me in ways that made me feel smaller every time. And I stayed. I stayed calm. I stayed quiet. I stayed understanding. Because I thought that's what being a good person meant. Forgive. Be patient. Don't make things worse. I was wrong. What I was really doing was teaching them how to treat me. The turning point didn't come from anger. It came from exhaustion. From realizing that kindness without boundaries isn't kindness. It's self-abandonment. Over time, I learned a set of rules. Not complicated, not aggressive, but firm. I decided there were certain behaviors I would never accept again. Not once, not from anyone. And when I finally enforced them, something strange happened. My life got quieter, calmer, healthier. Some people disappeared, others stepped up, and for the first time, I felt respected. What I'm about to share isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming solid. You can be warm and still have limits. You can be loving and still say no. You can be a good person without being available for disrespect. The people who cross you don't do it by accident. They do it because there's no cost. Once there is a cost, everything changes. The first behavior most people ignore is lying. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's small, a detail changed, a story adjusted, a promise rewritten after the fact. And what do? You hesitate. You doubt yourself. You tell yourself you misunderstood. You don't want to seem dramatic, so you swallow it. But every lie carries a message. It says, I don't respect you enough to be honest. And every time you let it slide, you're agreeing. Here's what strength looks like. You don't explode. You don't accuse. You don't lecture. You simply say the truth, calmly, clearly. That's not what happened. I know that isn't true. Then you stop talking. Pay attention to the reaction. People who respect you will correct themselves. They'll apologize. They'll care that they broke trust. People who don't will deflect, get angry, lie more. Either way, you get clarity, and clarity is power. When I stopped tolerating lies, the dishonest people faded out of my life on their own. I didn't chase them away. I just stopped making it comfortable to deceive me. The next behavior cuts even deeper because it steals something you can never replace: your time. Time is your life in minutes, and when someone wastes it repeatedly, they're telling you exactly how much you matter to them. Late arrivals, last-minute cancellations, promises that never turn into action. And again, good people excuse it. They're busy. They didn't mean it. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal. Respect always shows up on time. Here's the rule. Everyone gets one pass. One. After that, you say it plainly. My time matters. If this keeps happening, I can't continue. No anger. No apology for having standards. If it happens again, you leave. Not loudly, not dramatically, just permanently. When you start treating your time like it's valuable, other people start doing the same. Not because you demanded it, but because you demonstrated it. Then, there's the most subtle form of harm. The one disguised as humor, or honesty, or concern. Comments that chip away at you. Jokes that always land at your expense. Advice you never asked for that somehow makes you feel worse. You're too sensitive. I'm just being real. You always take things the wrong way. These phrases aren't harmless. They're tools. They shift the blame from the person hurting you to you for noticing. Anyone who consistently makes you feel small is doing it intentionally. It feeds something in them. The moment you speak up, they'll reveal themselves. They'll either adjust or mock you for having boundaries. That reaction tells you everything. If being yourself is a problem for someone, they don't deserve access to you. Then there are one-sided relationships, the ones that survive on your effort alone. You listen, you help, you show up, But when you need support, there's silence. This kind of imbalance drains you slowly. You don't notice it at first. You just feel tired, then resentful, then empty. Here's the test most people avoid. Stop giving. Don't announce it. Don't explain. Just pause. If they reach out, they care. If they disappear, they were never invested in you. Let that truth hurt once instead of quietly hurting forever. And finally, the most dangerous behavior of all, boundary violations. A boundary is a line that protects your peace. It's simple, clear, and when someone crosses it repeatedly, they're not confused. They're testing how much they can get away with. A boundary without consequences is just a suggestion. You explain once, you warn once. After that, you act. Walking away isn't cruelty, it's clarity. The people who love you won't fight your boundaries, they'll respect them. And here's the part that frees you. You don't owe anyone access to you. You don't need permission to protect yourself. You don't need to explain why you're done. Your peace is reason enough. When you stop tolerating what hurts you, your life gets smaller at first. Then it gets better, quieter, stronger, healthier. You won't lose the right people, you'll lose the wrong ones. And that's not a loss at all. And here's what no one tells you about that stage after you draw the line. It gets lonely before it gets peaceful. When you stop tolerating what drains you, there's a gap. The calls slow down. The messages stop. The noise fades, and that doubt shows up. You start wondering if you were too harsh, if you overreacted, if you should have explained yourself better. That's the old conditioning trying to pull you back. The part of you that learned early on that love is something you earn by enduring. But stay there. Don't rush to fill the silence, because something important happens in that space. You start hearing yourself again. You notice how much lighter your body feels when you're not bracing for the next disrespect. You sleep deeper. You breathe slower. You stop replaying conversations in your head at night. For the first time, your nervous system isn't on constant alert. That's when you realize how tired you were. Not physically, emotionally. Tired of explaining yourself. Tired of lowering expectations. Tired of pretending things didn't hurt. When you remove the people who benefit from your silence, your voice comes back, and with it, something else returns. Self-trust. You begin to trust your reactions again. When something feels off, you don't argue with yourself, you listen. That instinct you used to ignore becomes sharp, reliable. You stop asking, "Am I allowed to feel this?" and start asking, "Why am I still here?" This is where your standards change. Not because you're trying to be superior, but because you've seen the cost of having none. You stop chasing connection. You start filtering for it. You notice how rare it is to feel calm around someone, how valuable it is when conversations don't leave you second-guessing, how safe it feels to be around people who don't require you to shrink. And slowly, different people appear. Not louder, not flashier, just steadier. People who listen when you speak, who keep their word, who don't make you prove your worth through suffering. They don't love bomb you. They don't test your limits. They don't confuse intensity with intimacy. They're consistent. And at first, that almost feels boring, because chaos can be addictive when it's familiar. But then you realize something powerful. Peace isn't boring, it's unfamiliar. Your body learned chaos before it learned safety. So safety feels strange at first. You might even feel the urge to sabotage it, to over-explain, to over-give, to prove you deserve to stay. That's when you pause. You remind yourself, the right people don't require performance. You don't have to earn basic respect. You don't have to bleed to belong. And this is where the real transformation begins. You start setting boundaries without rehearsing them in your head. You say no without adding a paragraph afterward. You walk away without writing closure speeches that will never be heard. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself. You realize that access to you is a privilege, not a right. That doesn't make you cold, it makes you selective. And here's the part that changes how you see the world. When you stop tolerating disrespect, you stop recognizing yourself in your old life. You look back and wonder how you endured things that now feel unimaginable, how you stayed where you weren't valued, how you convinced yourself that love required pain. But don't shame that version of you. They were surviving with the tools they had. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were before you learned to abandon yourself. You'll still be kind, You'll still be generous. You'll still care deeply. But now, your kindness has direction. Your generosity has limits. Your care includes you. And that changes everything. Because people feel it. They feel when you no longer need their approval. They feel when you won't chase them. They feel when you're willing to walk away, not in a threatening way, in a grounded way. That energy commands respect without asking for it. Some people will try one last time. They'll test the old version of you, say the same things, push the same buttons, and you won't react. You'll simply disengage, and that's when you'll know. You've changed, not because you hardened, but because you healed. Your life won't be perfect. You'll still get hurt sometimes, but now pain has a shorter lifespan because you no longer negotiate with behavior that costs you your peace. You leave earlier, you speak sooner, you choose yourself faster, and over time, your world reflects that choice. Less chaos, more clarity, less explanation, more alignment. This is what it means to respect yourself, not through words, but through action. And once you experience life this way, there's no going back.